Hello everyone, and welcome to today's deep dive into a topic that's both fascinating and deeply personal. How long we might live once we've crossed that milestone of 70 years old. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Oh great, another list of things I'm doing wrong in life. But don't worry, this isn't about judgment. It's about understanding, empowerment, and a little bit of science to guide us. Today we're going to explore 5 scientifically proven signs that can predict how long you'll live after 70. These aren't guesses or old wives' tales. They're backed by research, studies, and data collected from people just like you and me. Whether you're 70 now, approaching that age, or just curious about what the future might hold for you or a loved one, stick with me. This is going to be a journey worth taking. So let's get started with our first sign. Our first sign might surprise you because it's something so simple, yet so telling. Grip strength. Yes, how strong your handshake is, or how firmly you can hold onto a jar of pickles, can actually be a window into your longevity. Now, why grip strength? Well, scientists have been studying this for years, and the evidence is pretty compelling. A landmark study published in The Lancet in 2015 followed over 140,000 people across 17 countries. And they found that grip strength was a better predictor of mortality than even blood pressure. For seniors over 70, weaker grip strength was strongly linked to a higher risk of dying from heart disease, stroke, or even just general frailty. So what's the science behind this? Grip strength isn't just about your hands, it's a marker of overall muscle mass and physical function. As we age, our muscles naturally start to weaken, a condition called sarcopenia. After 70, this process can accelerate if we don't stay active. Researchers at the University of Southampton in the UK have shown that people with stronger grips tend to have healthier hearts, better bone density, and even more resilience against falls. Imagine this: a 75-year-old man who can still carry his groceries without struggle is likely signaling that his body is holding up well overall. Now, let's break this down a bit more. How do they measure grip strength? Typically, scientists use a device called a dynamometer. It's like a little handheld gadget you squeeze as hard as you can. Studies suggest that for men over 70, a grip strength below 26 kilograms, about 57 pounds, is a red flag, while for women, it's below 16 kilograms, about 35 pounds. But don't panic if you're not sure where you stand. You don't need a fancy tool to get a sense of this. Try squeezing a tennis ball or even just paying attention to how easy it is to open a jar. If it's getting harder over time, it might be worth talking to a doctor or starting some light strength exercises. Things like lifting small weights or even gardening can help. The takeaway here? Grip strength is like a quiet little messenger from your body, whispering clues about how long you might stick around. It's not the whole story, but it's a powerful piece of the puzzle. So, next time you shake someone's hand, think about it as more than just a greeting. It's a sign of life. Alright, let's move on to our second sign, walking speed. This one's another deceptively simple measure that packs a big punch when it comes to predicting longevity after 70. Picture this. You're strolling through the park, maybe watching the grandkids play or heading to the mailbox. How fast you walk, or even how steadily, can tell researchers a lot about your future. A study from the University of Pittsburgh, published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, tracked over 34,000 older adults and found that walking speed was a reliable indicator of survival. Specifically, for people over 70, those who walked faster than about 0.8 meters per second, roughly 2.6 feet per second, lived longer than those who were slower. Why does this matter? Walking speed is like a full-body report card. It reflects your cardiovascular health, your muscle strength, your balance, and even your nervous system's coordination. Think about it. To walk briskly, your heart has to pump efficiently, your lungs need to keep up, and your brain has to send signals to your legs without missing a beat. As we hit 70 and beyond, things like arthritis, nerve damage, or heart issues can slow us down. But here's the good news. Walking speed isn't set in stone. It's something you can work on. Let me give you an example. Imagine 2 neighbors, both 72 years old. One shuffles along at a snail's pace, taking frequent breaks, while the other strides confidently, maybe even passing the younger folks on the sidewalk. Studies show that the faster walker is more likely to celebrate their 80th or even 90th birthday. In fact, researchers have a term for this. They call it your gait speed. And they've even set benchmarks. If you can walk about 100 meters, that's roughly the length of a football field, in under 2 minutes, you're in pretty good shape for your age. Now, I'm not saying you need to start speed walking like an Olympian, but if you notice your pace slowing down, or if loved ones point it out, it might be time to check in with a doctor. Conditions like poor circulation or vitamin deficiencies could be at play. Or you could try some gentle exercises, walking a little farther each day, maybe using a cane for stability if needed. The point is, your walking speed isn't just about getting from point A to point B, it's a signpost for how many more trips around the sun you might have ahead. Now, let's shift gears to our third sign, cognitive function. In other words, how sharp your mind stays after 70. This one's a biggie because our brains are the command centers of our lives, right? A study from the British Medical Journal tracked over 2,000 older adults and found that those with better cognitive scores, things like memory, problem-solving, and attention, lived significantly longer than those showing early signs of decline. Specifically, for people over 70, mild cognitive impairment raised the risk of mortality by about 50%, compared to those with healthy brains. So what's going on here? As we age, our brains can start to slow down. Maybe you forget where you parked the car, or you mix up your grandkids' names once in a while. That's normal. But when it gets more serious, like struggling to follow a recipe you've made for decades, it could signal something deeper, like dementia or Alzheimer's. And here's the kicker. Cognitive decline doesn't just affect your mind, it's tied to your physical health too. If you can't remember to take your medications or plan a healthy meal, your body suffers. Let's paint a picture. Imagine a 73-year-old woman who still does the crossword puzzle every morning, chats with friends about current events, and keeps her schedule organized. Compare her to someone the same age who's starting to withdraw, forgetting appointments, or losing track of conversations. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that the first woman's brain health is giving her a longevity boost. In fact, a test called the Mini Mental State Examination, or MMSE, is often used to measure this. It's a quick quiz where you recall words, count backward, or draw a clock. Scoring above 26 out of 30 is a good sign for someone over 70. But don't worry, your brain isn't a fixed asset. You can keep it sharp. Things like reading, playing cards, or even learning a new skill, like how to use that smartphone everyone's talking about, can make a difference. Scientists call this cognitive reserve, and it's like a savings account for your brain. The more you deposit now, the longer it'll pay off. So if you want to live longer after 70, keep that mind active. It's a sign that's in your control. Alright, let's talk about our fourth sign, social connections. This one's all about the people in your life, your friends, family, neighbors, even the folks you wave to at the grocery store. Research has shown time and again that staying socially engaged after 70 is a huge predictor of how long you'll live. A meta-analysis from PLOS Medicine reviewed 148 studies, yes, 148, and found that people with strong social ties had a 50% higher chance of survival compared to those who were isolated. For seniors over 70, loneliness can be as deadly as smoking or obesity. Why is this? Well, humans are wired for connection. When we're around others, our stress levels drop, our immune systems get a boost, and we're more likely to take care of ourselves. Think about it. If you've got a friend who drags you out for a walk or a family member who checks in, you're less likely to let your health slide. On the flip side, isolation can lead to depression, poor eating habits, and even higher blood pressure. A study from Harvard's Aging Study, which has followed people for over 80 years, found that relationships were the single biggest factor in long, healthy lives, more than money or fame. Picture two 70-year-olds. One spends their days alone, maybe watching TV, rarely leaving the house. The other goes to a weekly book club, calls their kids, and chats with the mail carrier. The second person isn't just happier, they're likely to live longer. In fact, researchers at the University of California found that for people over 70, having even one close confidant can add years to your life. Now I get it, staying connected isn't always easy. Maybe your friends have moved away or you've lost a spouse, but small steps count. Joining a senior center, volunteering, or even just smiling at someone can start a ripple effect. Your social network isn't just a luxury, it's a lifeline. So if you want a sign of how long you'll live after 70, look around. How many people are in your corner? Finally, we've reached our fifth sign: blood pressure control. This one's a classic, but it's so important that we can't skip it. High blood pressure or hypertension is often called the silent killer because it can creep up without symptoms, especially after 70. A study from the New England Journal of Medicine showed that seniors over 70 with well-controlled blood pressure, ideally around 120/80 millimeters of mercury, lived longer than those with uncontrolled hypertension. In fact, every 10-point increase in systolic pressure, the top number, raised the risk of death by about 20%. Here's why this matters. Your blood pressure affects every organ in your body. If it's too high, it strains your heart, damages your arteries, and can lead to strokes or kidney failure, all things that cut life short. After 70, our blood vessels naturally stiffen, making hypertension more common. But the good news, it's manageable. Let's imagine a 71-year-old man. He checks his blood pressure regularly, takes his meds as prescribed, and keeps his salt intake in check. Compare him to someone who ignores their doctor's advice, letting their pressure climb to 150/90 or higher. The first guy's heart is thanking him, and the data backs it up. The Framingham Heart Study, which has tracked thousands of people for decades, found that controlling blood pressure after 70 slashes the risk of cardiovascular death by up to 40%. How do you know if you're on track? A home blood pressure monitor is a great tool. Just aim for that 120/80 range, or whatever your doctor recommends. And it's not just about pills. Eating more fruits and veggies, walking a bit each day, and managing stress, like with deep breathing or a good laugh, can help. Blood pressure control isn't glamorous, but it's a sign that your body's still got a lot of fight left in it. So there you have it, 5 scientifically proven signs that predict how long you'll live after 70. Grip strength, walking speed, cognitive function, social connections, and blood pressure control. These aren't just random traits, they're windows into your health, your resilience, and your future. And the best part? They're not set in stone. Whether it's squeezing a stress ball, taking a brisk walk, doing a puzzle, calling a friend, or checking your blood pressure, you've got the power to nudge these signs in your favor. Now, I'm not saying you need to overhaul your life overnight. Small changes add up. Science tells us that people who stay strong, active, sharp, connected, and healthy can live well into their 80s, 90s, or beyond. So as we wrap up, think about this. What's one little step you could take today? Maybe it's a handshake with a little extra oomph, or a walk around the block. Whatever it is, it's a sign, not just of how long you'll live, but of how well you'll live. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Here's to many more years ahead.